So I want you to imagine a darkness that is just completely absolute.
Yeah, not just like turning the lights off in your bedroom.
Right. I mean, a darkness so heavy it actually feels like a physical weight on your eyes.
Like you're buried.
Exactly. You wake up in this total void, and you try to blink, but your eyelids feel like they are cemented shut.
You can't even get a flutter out of them.
Nothing. You try to take a breath, a real deep breath, but your chest feels like there's a stone slab sitting on it.
A total paralysis.
Yeah. You try to twitch a finger, even just a pinky toe, and you get absolutely nothing. Your body is dead weight.
But the terrifying part is that your mind is completely awake.
No, it's racing, going 1,000 miles an hour, screaming into the silence.
It really is the ultimate claustrophobia.
Yeah.
I mean, you are literally a prisoner inside your own skin.
Which is such a horrifying concept to try and wrap your head around.
Fully conscious, but you have zero access to the controls. It's the literal definition of a nightmare.
And what makes it worse is that the sensory details start creeping in because you aren't completely numb to the outside world.
Right, you start picking up on the environment.
You smell something really sharp, like rubber or vinyl.
Maybe a faint chemical smell mixed in there, too.
Yeah, and then you feel movement, this rhythmic bumping underneath you.
Squeak, squeak.
Like a wheel that desperately needs some oil, and then this logic just hits you like a sledgehammer.
You realize you are definitely not in your bed.
You aren't in a hospital ward with life support machines either. You are inside a bag.
A heavy, thick, zippered bag.
And the people wheeling you down the hall, they think you are a corpse.
That is the incredibly intense hook of Stephen King's Autopsy Room 4.
It really is.
I really think it's one of the most visceral, immediate openers he has ever written. It just grabs you by the throat right from the first sentence.
It totally does. But today, we aren't just here to tell campfire stories. We are doing a deep dive into a very specific, very rare collection of King's work.
Yes. To really unpack how he completely dismantles our sense of human control.
Exactly. Because this isn't the Stephen King you see at the grocery store checkout line. We are looking at a collection called 6 Stories.
Which is a bit of a hidden gem.
It is. Just doing the research for this felt different. It feels like you're accessing something you aren't supposed to see.
It's a deep cut, in the truest sense.
Yeah.
So 6 Stories was actually published in 1997 by Philtrum Press.
And for those listening who might not know, Philtrum is King's own private publishing imprint.
Right. He uses it for special little projects. Gifts, limited runs, things like that.
And this was a signed, limited edition run.
Only 1,100 copies exist in the entire world.
1,100! That is practically nothing in the publishing world. It gives the whole thing this almost voyeuristic vibe.
Like you found a notebook you accidentally left on a park bench or something.
Exactly. It feels incredibly exclusive.
And it changes how you read it. You really feel like you are seeing the author in a raw, almost experimental phase.
Now, the collection obviously lists 6 titles, as the name suggests.
Including some you might know, like Blind Willie or The Man in the Black Suit.
But today we are focusing our laser beam on 2 specific stories that seem totally unrelated on the surface.
Autopsy Room 4 and LT's Theory of Pets.
Which, sounds like a weird pairing.
I mean, you have a guy paralyzed on a steel table, and then you have a guy complaining about his dog and his ex-wife.
Right. What could those possibly have in common?
Well, Autopsy Room 4 is this immediate, adrenaline-soaked body horror. A ticking clock thriller.
Yeah, it's pure panic.
But LT's Theory of Pets is this slow burn, tragicomic look at a relationship just decaying over years.
But the connective tissue between them, the thing that ties them together, is helplessness.
That is the mission of our deep dive today.
We want to explore how King masters these 2 completely different flavors of horror.
Because whether you are paralyzed by a freak biological accident, or you are paralyzed watching your marriage inevitably collapse,
The emotional result is exactly the same.
you cannot stop what is coming.
You're just along for the ride. So let's not waste any more time. Let's unzip the bag and get right into the mind of Howard Cottrell.
Our very unfortunate protagonist in Autopsy Room 4.
So we meet Howard right in that heavy darkness we were just talking about.
And King's description here is so specific, it's vivid in a really gritty way.
He describes the blackness as black as a woodchuck's asshole.
Which tells you immediately what kind of story this is.
Yeah, it's not a romantic, gothic shadow.
No, it's blue-collar, dirty, visceral horror. Howard is a stockbroker. He's a very rational guy.
And even inside the sensory void, he's trying to use logic.
Right. He's running a diagnostic check on his own brain.
He's trying to figure out, am I dead? Am I just having a really bad dream?
And he focuses on those physical sensations. The squeak of the wheel, the contact of the gurney against his heels.
Because he reasons that in a dream, you don't feel that specific friction of rubber against your skin.
You don't feel the precise weight of gravity pulling you down.
So he deduces that he must be awake. His mind is perfectly fine.
But then the bumping stops.
And he hears voices.
This is the first really terrifying shift in his reality, because he realizes he isn't Howard anymore.
No. To the people standing around him, he's just a piece of inventory.
He hears one voice ask, which one did they say?
And the other voice just answers, 4? I think, yeah, 4.
He's been reduced to a room number.
It's the first step in this horrible dehumanization process that King is setting up.
Howard is basically a package waiting to be opened.
And as he's lying there, he starts trying to piece together his last memory.
And the memory is so incredibly mundane, which makes it worse.
He wasn't doing anything dangerous. No extreme sports, no car crash.
He was literally playing golf.
The Derry Municipal Country Club, 14th hole.
We get this incredibly clear flashback. He remembers the exact sound of his tee shot.
That solid walk of the driver hitting the ball.
And he remembers seeing the ball slice off into the rough.
And that's key, isn't it? The horror starts when he steps off the manicured lawn.
Exactly. King loves playing with that boundary.
The edge between the safe, civilized fairway and the wild, chaotic rough.
Howard wades into the weeds to find his ball. He's swiping at the grass with his club.
And then he feels a prick.
He describes it as a red-hot darning needle of pain on his calf.
But he doesn't panic. He just thinks it's a bug bite.
A bee, maybe? Or a really mean ant? His immediate thought is just, ouch.
He's annoyed, not scared. But then the lights just go out.
And now, lying in the dark of this vinyl bag, he realizes that little prick was the end of his life.
Or at least the end of his life as he understood it.
He tries to scream out for help.
And I love this description. It really stuck with me. He says his tongue feels like a stunned mole lying on the floor of his mouth.
It's such an evocative image.
Yeah.
It's heavy and dead, but it's still attached to him.
It's just a lump of meat in his own mouth now.
And he has this sudden wave of panic that if the orderlies tilt the gurney too much, gravity's going to pull that stunned mole right down his throat.
He's terrified he's going to choke to death on his own tongue.
Which is such a dark irony.
Right. Because everyone in the room already thinks he's dead.
Suffocation is the last thing a corpse needs to worry about.
But he's terrified of dying while being mistaken for a dead man.
It's a very specific, layered anxiety.
And it brings us to the people who are currently in charge of his fate.
Because when you are fully helpless, your survival is completely dependent on the empathy and the competence of whoever has you.
And Howard is seriously out of luck on both fronts.
He is surrounded by what you could basically call aggressive incompetence.
You have Rusty and Mike, the orderlies.
They are not solemn. They aren't treating this body with quiet reverence.
They are just bored guys working a shift. They're cracking jokes.
Rusty unzips the bag, takes one look at Howard's face, and says, "You like this one, Doc? He looks like Michael Bolton."
Which is such a funny, specific cultural anchor.
1997, Michael Bolton was everywhere.
But think about how devastating that is for Howard to hear.
Oh, it's profoundly humiliating.
He's trapped in this nightmare, terrified for his actual soul, and his eulogy is a joke about a lounge singer with a mullet.
It's a complete erasure of his identity.
Howard even admits internally that, yeah, he kind of does look like Michael Bolton.
He used to use it as a pickup line in bars.
But hearing it now in this room, it just means he's a caricature to them.
He's not a human being with a family and a history. He's a prop for their workplace banter.
It really hammers home how little humanity they see in him.
And then the real sensory assault begins.
Yeah, they pull the bag open completely with this loud ripping sound.
And the lights hit him. King calls the fluorescent light bank a kind of rape of the eyes.
Which is a very violent metaphor, but biologically it makes total sense.
Right. His pupils are paralyzed. They can't contract to filter the light.
Usually when you look at something bright, your pupils shrink instantly to protect your retina.
But Howard's are stuck wide open. So the light isn't just bright, it's searing pain.
It's a physical violation, and he can't even blink to escape it.
Now the medical team steps in. And again, these are not the brilliant heroes you see on medical dramas.
No, this is the night shift. They are tired and distracted.
You've got Peter, the medical intern.
King describes him as a Baywatch beefcake with cobalt blue eyes.
He's very handsome. But King implies he's not exactly a medical genius.
He's looking to log his hours, not solve a mystery.
And then there's Dr. Katie Arlen.
She's the attending, Severe, good-looking, wearing her surgical cap like the Cisco Kid.
She's the authority figure in the room.
And, of course, Rusty the orderly, who Howard says has a distress sale IQ.
Rusty's pure chaos. He almost gets Howard killed just by goofing off.
There's this moment where Rusty leans right over Howard's face.
And Howard can smell the onions on Rusty's breath.
So Howard tries to use logic again. He thinks, if I can smell the onions, it means I'm inhaling.
Dead men do not smell lunch.
He's praying Rusty will notice. He thinks, surely Rusty is checking to see if I'm breathing on his cheek.
But Rusty isn't doing a medical check. He's playing with a corpse.
He grabs Howard's jaw and starts physically moving it up and down.
He's doing a ventriloquist act with him.
He's clicking Howard's teeth together and singing a falsetto song.
If she's bad, he can't see it.
Which is horrifying on so many levels.
It's body horror disguised as slapstick comedy.
Howard is already terrified. His tongue is going to fall back and block his airway, and this idiot is forcefully manipulating his jaw.
It's completely disrespectful, but it's also genuinely physically dangerous.
It just shows how incredibly fragile Howard's situation is. He is literally a toy to them.
Dr. Arlen does step in and yell at Rusty to stop.
But the crucial detail is why she stops him.
Right. It's not because she sees a spark of life in Howard.
She just thinks it's unprofessional conduct. She's annoyed by the lack of decorum, not concerned for the patient.
So playtime is over. The actual exam is starting.
And the tension just spikes here because the tools are brought out.
Howard sees the guy saw.
He knows exactly what that is. It's the saw they use to cut off the skull cap to remove the brain.
And then he sees the poultry shears.
Just calling them poultry shears makes my skin crawl.
It's taking a tool you use to prep a chicken in the kitchen and applying it to a human body.
King writes out the sound they make. Snip, key, R-U-N-C-H.
Howard recognizes that sound. He's a Vietnam veteran.
He's been around field hospitals. He knows that sound means a human ribcage is being snapped open.
And he knows that if he hears that sound today, it's over for him. He's dead.
So he goes into full panic mode. He has to communicate somehow.
He thinks about television. He remembers an old Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode.
Where a paralyzed guy manages to squeeze out a single tear to prove he's still alive.
It's a great classic trope.
But reality doesn't care about TV tropes.
His tear ducts are completely paralyzed. The poetic single tear is impossible.
So he gives up on being poetic and just tries brute force.
He channels every single ounce of his willpower, his entire being, into making his vocal cords do something.
He tries to make any sound at all, and miraculously, he actually does it.
He manages to push out a tiny, faint hum from his nose. He does it. In any normal situation, this is where the movie stops.
Right. Someone says, wait, did you guys hear that?
But the timing is impossibly tragic.
Literally, the second he manages the hum, Dr. Arlen asks the intern if he wants some music.
She walks over and hits play on a boombox.
And outblasts the Rolling Stones. Start Me Up.
The irony's just crushing.
Start Me Up is playing while he's using all his strength to try and start up his own nervous system.
And the drum intro completely buries his tiny hum. Nobody hears a thing.
It's just brilliant, tragic irony.
The music gives the medical team energy. It makes them feel alive.
And it essentially signs Howard's death warrant by drowning him out.
They are grooving to Mick Jagger, completely oblivious to the man screaming inside his own head 2 feet away from them.
And just when you think he can't be humiliated any further, they start undressing him.
And this detail is wild. Peter and Dr. Arlen actually have a running bet going.
They are betting money on his underwear? Boxers versus jockeys?
They are casually gambling over a dead man's crotch.
And they pull down his pants and discover he's wearing wash pink jockeys.
Howard is absolutely mortified.
In his head, he's defending himself. He's screaming, I jog. My legs are muscular. The underwear is a laundry accident.
It's just another layer of his dignity being peeled away.
Then comes the rectal thermometer.
Howard describes it as feeling like a glass baseball bat.
But the real horror isn't the physical invasion. It's the commentary from Peter.
Peter pulls it out, checks the reading, and says, no attractable phenomena.
And Howard is thinking, what am I? A bugolite.
They are diagnosing his lack of body heat like a mechanic checking a dead car battery. No juice left, Doc.
But then we get a glimmer of hope.
Peter starts doing the actual physical inspection of the body.
He moves down to the left leg, the exact leg where the bite happened in the rough.
Howard is holding his mental breath. He's thinking, this is it. He has to see the swelling. He has to see the puncture marks.
And Peter does see them. He actually stops and leans in.
He counts them out loud. 1, 2, 3. There are almost a dozen bite marks.
Wait, a dozen? I thought the golf course thing was just one sharp prick.
Well, the snake was fast. It struck him multiple times in rapid succession before he even realized what was happening.
But the problem here is a psychological phenomenon called confirmation bias.
Exactly. The EMTs told the hospital it was a massive heart attack.
So Dr. Arlen and Peter are looking for evidence of a heart attack.
They see the bites, but their brains immediately try to fit them into a normal, non-lethal narrative.
Peter looks at a dozen swollen puncture wounds and literally says, looks like he forgot his deep woods off.
He writes them off as aggressive mosquito bites.
Which feels incredibly negligent for a medical professional.
It is negligent,
Yeah.
but it's plausible negligence.
Because when we expect to see a corpse, we interpret everything through that lens.
Howard even manages to let out a postmortem burp.
Which is actually just gas escaping his very much alive stomach.
But Dr. Arlen just chuckles and tells the corpse to excuse itself.
They explain away every single sign of life because they've already decided he's dead. So we finally reached the edge of the cliff.
The music on the boombox changes to hang fire.
Peter picks up the heavy shears. He holds them up, and the harsh light glints off the surgical steel.
Dr. Arlen gives the final order. She tells him to do the pericardial cut.
She's actually pushing him to step up. She says, do you want to make this your field or not?
She's challenging his career ambitions. But for Howard, it's the execution order.
Howard feels the cold metal of the shears slide right up against his belly.
I can't even squeeze his eyes shut. He just has to stare at the ceiling and wait for the crunch.
The blade is pressing into his skin.
And then Dr. Arlen yells, "Wait a sec."
She stops him right at the last possible second.
But again, it's not because she noticed he was breathing.
No, she stops him because Peter missed something on the physical exam.
He missed a scar.
And this is where King takes a really sharp turn into something very bizarre and honestly super uncomfortable.
Dr. Arlen reaches down to the groin area to point out this scar to Peter.
She's physically handling him to move things out of the way.
Right, she's moving his penis aside just to get a better look at a shrapnel scar on his upper thigh.
She treats it with zero thought, like moving a lamp to look at a scratch on a table.
But Howard is not a table. He is a living, breathing, terrified human male.
And despite the absolute terror, biology just takes the wheel.
He feels her hand. He feels the warmth
And he gets an erection.
on an autopsy table, while a saw is pointed at his chest.
It is arguably the most inappropriate physiological response in the history of literature.
But it's purely mechanical.
His nervous system is flooded with adrenaline from the fear, and then there's sudden physical stimulation.
Fear and arousal use a lot of the same wiring in the brain. It's totally autonomic.
But Dr. Arlen is so busy lecturing Peter about this Vietnam War wound that she doesn't actually look at what she's holding.
She's completely oblivious to the tissue changing in her grip.
Until the doors to the autopsy room suddenly burst open.
And it's Rusty, the class clown.
The guy with the onion breath who was playing with Howard's jaw is now the savior.
He's screaming his head off, yelling, "Don't cut him up! It was a snake!"
He found out from the ambulance bay that a snake bit the other orderly, Mike.
A Peruvian boomslang, specifically.
And the sudden shouting makes Dr. Arlen jump.
She looks down at her hand in the confusion.
And she finally realizes what she is holding.
She realizes it's warm, and she realizes it's an erect penis.
And she just screams.
She drops the shears, screams her head off, and the procedure is stopped.
Howard is saved. Not by his logic, not by his desperate humming.
He is saved by a random orderly finding a snake and his own involuntary libido.
It's incredibly messy and entirely humiliating.
It strips whatever dignity he had left right down to the bone.
He didn't mastermind his escape. He was a naked guy on a metal slab who got saved by dumb luck.
Now, the aftermath of the story is fascinating, too.
We get the backstory on the snake. It was an incredibly rare Peruvian boomslang.
Thought to be extinct, actually.
And it escaped from the basement of a neighbor named Walter Kerr.
I love that detail. It adds this layer of suburban gothic to the whole thing.
Right. You're just out trying to fix your golf swing, worrying about your stock portfolio.
And right next door, behind a totally normal picket fence, a guy is hoarding venomous vipers.
It just highlights that the world is completely unpredictable. The danger is always right there in the tall grass.
And King gives us a really dark, funny coda to close it out.
Howard makes a full recovery from the venom.
And he actually ends up dating Dr. Arlen for a few months.
Which seems insane, but they bond over the trauma, I guess.
But it doesn't last. They break up because of, well, sexual incompatibility.
Right, the final kicker. Howard is impotent.
Unless Dr. Arlen is wearing her medical rubber gloves.
It's meant to be a dark joke, but psychologically it's tragic.
His brain has completely rewired itself around that near-death experience.
He literally associates intimacy and release with the exact moment he was about to be dissected.
He survived the paralysis, but he's permanently scarred by it.
He walked out of the hospital, but he left a big piece of his sanity on that table.
So that is the horror of the body. Immediate physical, terrifying helplessness.
But now I want to pivot completely to the second story in our deep dive.
We are leaving the bright, sterile hospital and heading over to a dirty loading dock behind a meatpacking plant.
This is LT's theory of pets.
And the tonal shift here is massive.
It really is jarring. You go from pure suspense to this slow, rambling, almost folksy storytelling session.
The narrator is a guy who works with LT DeWitt at the plant.
They are all just sitting around on their lunch break drinking iced coffee.
LT is doing what LT does best. He's telling the guys the story of how his wife left him.
But there is a massive dark cloud hanging over this entire scene right from the jump.
Because the narrator quietly lets us know that LT never tells the part of the story about how his wife disappeared.
Or how she's, quote, probably dead.
Right. There is a serial killer operating in their area.
The Axeman.
A guy who has been murdering women on the highways.
But LT conveniently omits that detail when he performs his little monologue.
He only tells the funny parts about the dog and the cat.
Which creates this incredibly intense, dramatic irony for the reader.
We are sitting there listening to him roast his wife, make jokes about their domestic disputes.
But the whole time, in the back of our heads, we know this woman is almost certainly lying in a ditch somewhere.
It completely changes the texture of the humor.
In Autopsy Room 4, Howard used humor to keep his mind from snapping in the body bag.
But here LT is using humor as a wall.
He's using this funny anecdote to block out the reality that his wife was murdered.
If he keeps treating it like a sitcom plot, he doesn't have to face the tragedy.
So let's get into the actual meat of it. What is LT's theory of pets?
It's a very simple theory, and I think a lot of pet owners might actually relate to it.
Oh, absolutely.
The theory states that if you buy a pet for your spouse as a gift, that pet will inevitably fall in love with you and absolutely despise the spouse it was meant for.
It's the law of reciprocal rejection.
And LT and his wife, Lulubelle, are the perfect case study.
It starts when Lulubelle buys LT a dog.
A Jack Russell Terrier named Frank.
And she buys it because LT was a big fan of the show Frasier.
He liked Eddie the dog on TV.
But a real-life Jack Russell is very different from a highly trained Hollywood animal.
LT absolutely despises Frank. He refers to him as a barking rat.
He says the dog literally vibrates with hatred whenever LT is in the room.
But Frank absolutely adores Lulubelle.
And this creates a really toxic dynamic in the house.
LT starts feeling like the third wheel in his own marriage.
He calls it a ménage à trois. He comes home from a hard day at the plant, and the dog and the wife are just cuddled up on the couch.
He feels like an intruder.
And then we get to the inciting incident, the slipper.
This is the catalyst for the entire collapse of the marriage.
Frank, the dog, throws up inside LT's slipper.
And LT wakes up, half asleep, and jams his bare foot right into it.
He describes the feeling as warm tapioca with extra big lumps.
Which is just, so gross, so visceral.
And LT is convinced it wasn't an accident. He thinks the dog planned it.
But this event triggers a massive blowout fight between him and Lulubelle.
And this is where King really flexes his understanding of human relationships.
Because the fight they have is not about the dog vomit.
Not at all. It instantly becomes a kitchen sink argument.
We've all been there. You start fighting about a dirty dish, and 5 minutes later you're screaming about something that happened 3 years ago.
Lulubelle just unloads on him. She brings up the toilet seat.
She complains about having to go midnight skin diving because he always leaves the seat up.
She brings up her mother, his dead-end job, just everything.
She hits him with the classic "you men slay me."
The vomit in the slipper was just the spark. The fuel was years of quiet resentment building up.
They are keeping a meticulous score. LT feels completely disrespected in his own home.
And Lulubelle feels entirely unheard and unappreciated.
The pets aren't really the problem. They're just proxies for the couple's inability to communicate with each other.
So how does LT decide to fix this massive communication breakdown?
He does the worst thing possible. He tries to balance the scales by buying her a pet.
A Siamese kitten.
He names her Lucy.
Though she quickly earns the nickname Screw Lucy.
Because, true to his theory, the kitten hates Lulubelle on sight.
It literally scratches her nose the minute she tries to hold it.
But the kitten loves LT.
It purrs for him, climbs up and sits on his shoulder while he watches TV.
So now the household is perfectly, horribly divided.
Lulubelle has the dog that was supposed to be his.
And LT has the cat that was supposed to be hers.
It's a complete emotional standoff.
And the brilliant irony here is that the animals get along perfectly fine.
Right. Frank the dog and Lucy the cat take naps together. They share the same food bowl.
The natural enemies have found harmony. It's the humans who are tearing each other apart.
Eventually, Lulubelle reaches her absolute breaking point.
LT comes home from work one afternoon and immediately knows something is wrong.
The garage door is left wide open, which drives him crazy.
Her car is gone. And there's a note magneted to the fridge.
And this note, it is a masterpiece of passive-aggressive, confused emotion.
She writes that she is leaving because she just wasn't cut out to be a spam packer's wife.
Which is such a low blow about his career.
But then the note takes this weird pseudo-spiritual turn. She quotes a psychic she went to see.
And this introduces the broken spoon metaphor.
The psychic told Lulubelle, a broken spoon may become a fork.
A broken spoon may become a fork. I mean, what does that even mean?
Logically, it means absolutely nothing. It's complete gibberish.
LT reads it and just laughs. The guys in the loading dock think it's the funniest thing ever.
But Lulubelle took it deeply seriously.
She writes in the note, "We are the tines that must separate, but we share the same handle."
She is trying so desperately to find a profound meaning in the chaos of a failed marriage.
She wants the breakup to be destiny. She wants it to be cosmic.
Because if it's just a failure of communication, it's too sad. So she grasps at this fork metaphor to justify blowing up her life.
But the real punchline of the note is the postscript.
P.S. I have taken Frank with me and left Screw Lucy for you. I thought this would probably be the way you'd want it.
It is the ultimate division of assets.
She takes the dog he legally owns, but who loves her?
And she leaves him the cat she legally owns, but who loves him.
They sort the pets based on affection, not who bought who.
And usually when LT is holding court at the meatpacking plant, this is where the story ends.
He rolls his eyes, all the guys chuckle.
He does the whole, women, am I right,
Yeah.
routine, and they go back to packing meat.
But for us, reading this story, the narrative doesn't stop there.
Because the Axeman is still out there.
We know that when Lulubelle backed out of that garage, she never made it to her mother's house in the next town.
The narrator heavily implies that the police found her car abandoned on the side of the highway a few days later.
No sign of Lulubelle, no sign of Frank the dog.
And knowing that completely shatters the comedic tone of everything we just heard.
It reveals the true depth of LT's helplessness.
He has total control over the narrative he tells his buddies.
He can turn his ruined marriage into a tight 5-minute stand-up routine.
He couldn't control the actual outcome.
He couldn't fix his marriage, and more importantly, he couldn't protect her from the real monsters in the world.
It's like the darkest possible version of the butterfly effect.
Think about the timeline. If the dog hadn't puked in his slipper that specific morning,
Maybe they don't have the blowout fight.
if he hadn't bought the cat out of spite, maybe she stays a few weeks longer.
If she had spent 10 extra minutes packing her bags, she wouldn't have been on that specific stretch of highway at the exact moment the Axeman was driving by.
And that is the creeping horror of fate that King explores here.
It's a perfect contrast. In Autopsy Room 4, Howard is saved by a completely random coincidence.
A snake biting someone else miles away saves him from the scalpel.
But in LT's theory, Lulubelle is doomed by a completely random coincidence.
Crossing paths with a serial killer on a Tuesday afternoon.
And it makes you wonder, is luck really the only thing separating a funny anecdote from a devastating tragedy?
King really seems to be arguing that yes, it is.
We all walk around thinking we have agency.
Howard thought he was the master of his universe out on the golf course.
LT thought he was the man of the house, trying to balance the scales with pets.
But the reality is, we're all just one bad step in the tall grass, or one bad argument away from the void.
There's this one incredibly sad detail the narrator drops right at the end of the story.
About the cat food.
Right. LT still keeps an open tin of cat food in his refrigerator for Screw Lucy.
Even though Lulubelle absolutely despised that.
She used to yell at him about it all the time. She'd say it made the whole fridge smell like dead fish.
But now, LT makes sure there's always an open can in there. It's like a weird little memorial to their fight.
It's almost like he misses being annoyed by her.
Which perfectly encapsulates the tragedy of grief.
You would give almost anything to have your spouse walk in and yell at you about smelling up the fridge.
Because that would mean they're still alive.
The quiet hum of his empty refrigerator is so much louder than her yelling ever was.
So when we pull back and look at these two specific stories from six stories,
What is the ultimate takeaway about helplessness?
I think he's reminding us that the real monsters aren't always supernatural entities or vampires.
Sometimes the monster is just your own central nervous system completely betraying you.
And sometimes the monster is the deafening silence in your kitchen after your wife drives away for the last time.
And the humor that we lean on, the jokes Howard and LT use,
It's just armor.
it helps us survive the emotional weight of the day-to-day.
But a joke isn't going to stop a surgical saw. And a funny story isn't going to stop the Axeman.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. The idea of the scar in Autopsy Room 4.
The shrapnel wound from Vietnam.
Right. Howard is only saved because of that old injury.
It's such a profound little philosophical nugget hidden in a gross-out scene.
The physical trauma from his past, the thing that surely caused him immense pain decades ago, is the exact thing that catches the doctor's eye in the present.
If he'd come home from the war unblemished, with perfect skin, Dr. Arlen wouldn't have paused.
Peter would have cracked his chest open.
His past pain literally became his present armor.
Which makes you think about LT. Does LT have a scar that saves him?
Honestly, no. I think LT actually is the scar.
What do you mean by that?
He is the wound left behind. He has to survive and carry the weight of the story.
He has to live with the what-ifs every single day.
His survival is almost his punishment. He survives, but he's stuck alone with a cat that reminds him of his dead wife.
Wow. That is an incredibly heavy way to look at it, but it fits perfectly.
It definitely makes you reevaluate the mundane parts of your own life.
It really does. You might look at your pets a little differently tonight.
Or double-check your slippers before you put them on in the dark.
And whatever you do, maybe just stay out of the rough next time you're on the golf course.
Stick to the fairway.
Yeah.
And if you ever do wake up in the dark and smell vinyl,
Start humming as loud as you possibly can.
and wiggle your toes. Focus on the toes.
This has been our deep dive into the very dark, very human corners of Stephen King's 6 stories.
Thanks so much for going into the dark with us.
We will see you on the next deep dive.